David Muir. On World News Revenge Killing, the chilling new tape. The bomber who killed 7 CIA agents reveals his motives. Off color, tonight the Senate Majority Leader finds himself apologizing to President Obama. The racial remarks causing controversy. Frozen foods, crops at risk, snow in Orlando. This evening, the bitter cold and where it's headed next. And a Senate smackdown? She has been knocked around the wrestling ring. Can she survive the political ring? The candidate hoping to take her moves to Washington.
From the global resources of ABC News, this is ABC World News.
Good evening. We begin tonight with that chilling video. The al-Qaeda suicide bomber responsible for the deadly attack against the CIA in Afghanistan, killing 7 agents. He turned up today in a videotape made before his suicide mission. He'd been recruited by the CIA, but he was a double agent. And on the tape, he reveals his motive and warns more attacks will come. Nick Schifrin starts us off from Kabul.
I am Dr. Al-Jordanian.
The CIA thought the man on the right could lead them to al-Qaeda's deputy leader. Instead, he led them into a trap. He had already provided exclusive information on al-Qaeda hiding places, so the CIA invited him onto its base. But when he arrived, he looked suspicious, holding his hand in his pocket, according to a U.S. official. Just before CIA security officers searched him, he exploded his vest. Today, the CIA director defended the officers who died. In the past year, we have done exceptionally heavy damage to al-Qaeda and its associates, Leon Panetta wrote. That's why the extremists hit back. That damage has come largely thanks to a barrage of missile strikes by unmanned aerial drones. In the days since the base attack, the CIA has launched 7 strikes just across the border.
The CIA, the Pentagon, and indeed the White House believe that these predator attacks are the only way to go up against al-Qaeda and the Taliban in these tribal areas of Pakistan.
The bomber was a Jordanian doctor named Humam Khalil al-Balawi. In the video, he sits next to the leader of the Pakistani Taliban and says his suicide mission was in response to one specific drone attack that killed the former Pakistani Taliban leader.
This istishhadi attack will be the first of the revenge operations against the Americans and their drone teams outside the Pakistani borders.
That is a new threat against the U.S. and Afghanistan and points to a dangerous partnership between the Taliban and al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda will then provide its knowledge and resources to the Pakistani Taliban, and the Pakistani Taliban will provide the manpower, the foot soldiers, as well as the logistical support on a regular basis to al-Qaeda.
That collaboration between al-Qaeda and the Taliban on both sides of the border is what worries U.S. officials most. They are asking for help from the Pakistanis, and until they get that help, U.S. troops will be in greater danger. David?
Nick, thank you. And so we turn to Robin Wright now, a foreign affairs analyst who has reported extensively for the Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post. And Robin, you heard the threat there that this is revenge for the drone attack that killed their leader. We know of 7 CIA drone attacks since the attack on that CIA outpost, 1 more today. These drone attacks will continue. So what do you make of that threat?
Well, clearly the United States is sending a strong message to the Taliban, getting a bit of its own revenge. But the reality is that the United States has to rely on these advanced predators against a force, a ragtag militia that has no air force of its own, no armored corps, no advanced artillery, and no satellite intelligence. And 8 years after this conflict began, the United States is having difficulty holding its own.
And Robin, we know you were in Beirut the last time the CIA was attacked with this scope, the bombing of the embassy. You heard what the CIA director, Leon Panetta, said today, defending his CIA workers on the front lines. Did you see, though, a breakdown, or is this simply the risk that they face?
Well, clearly it's the risk they face. I think Leon Panetta is right to a certain extent, but the reality is 27 years after the first attack that wiped out almost an entire CIA station, the United States should have known better. This is a real counterintelligence failure.
All right, Robin Wright, as always, we appreciate your analysis. Thank you. Meantime, the families of the fallen CIA officers are now laying their loved ones to rest. In many cases, these families had no idea the men and women they lost were working the front lines for the CIA. Here's David Curley.
It is a sight seldom seen, a funeral for one of America's silent secret warriors.
Freeze it!
Harold Brown Jr., a father of 3 young children, killed in that suicide bombing in Afghanistan.
It was a wonderful life. I love you now and forever.
Even Brown's parents never knew their son was a spy. This attack has been an exception. We have learned some of their names. Elizabeth Hansen, Scott Roberson. Dane Parisi's wife said goodbye near Portland today.
I love you with all my heart.
Flags are at half staff at CIA. Here, 90 stars mark the 90 officers lost in the agency's history. But 35 of their names are not even listed, not acknowledged in the agency's Book of Honor. It will be harder for the agency to keep its losses secret. In fact, we learned about these officers from family members who posted pictures on social media sites.
In the old days, it could deny history. They could not do that in the world today. There are simply too many eyes and cameras and lenses and websites.
This spring, more stars will be chiseled into the rock at CIA headquarters. In a letter to be printed tomorrow, the CIA director says, "We honor them in part by pushing forward the work they did, work to which they were absolutely devoted." David Curley, ABC News, Washington.